Greetings, everyone. This is Muktanshu, and welcome back to Developerchino. We are coming up with a new series this time. This is the podcast. So, we are becoming a interview Web3 channel right now. So, for the first podcast, I've always thought of a special guest, the one who gave birth to the idea of me blabbering about Web3 and how good I am in just, letting myself out when I am talking about Web3. So, yeah, I am very proud and very happy to introduce you to Jaf. We just call him Jaf. You know the official name from the thumbnail, but yeah, he's Jaf. He is the OG when it comes to Web3 game. He has been the biggest mentor that I had throughout the game that I've played in Web3. So yeah, hey Jaf, how are you?
Hey Muktanshu, good to see you, and thank you so much for having me here. To be honest, you're too nice. You're too nice. We grew in this together, and we're in this together. So I'm really happy to be part of the first episode of Develop Chin.
Yeah. Like I've known Jaf from January 2022, December 2021, I think. And it started from a very different kind of camaraderie. Jaf was my manager. So I had to complete all the tasks. And then, I just got to know that Jaf is kind of a bigger me and I'm like a mini me for Jaf. I'm really similar when it comes to expressing myself, talking about space. I like to cuss a lot. Jaff cusses a lot, and yeah, we have things in common that we can't even tell people. Our hatred for certain communities that we can't reveal is really common. We rant about this a lot. But yeah, like when it comes to your journey in Web3, you have listened to all about, like, you've witnessed all my journey in Web3. What was your particular journey? Because I know your background. I would like people to know about that.
Man, that's always a great question to start. So I've been telling people I started like 5 years ago, right? And I had my very first opportunity because a manager that I used to work with him in the 2000, in the early 2000,
Jaff's emoji, guys.
he called me. He called me to see if I wanted to experiment with this new technology that he was looking at, right? And it turns out that new technology was blockchain, and it was Ethereum to be more specific. And man, this is a fun story because we started the project, and none of us really knew what we were doing, and it was a complete failure, a true failure, right? And we lost time, money, some friendships, and a little bit of everything, right? But the good thing is that, man, I fell in love with the technology. I fell in love with all the possibilities, and there were so many things that got me curious about the Web3. And I had my job and everything. I started just working on a side, learning on a side, but that thing stayed with me for quite a long time. And then I started trying to contribute to other projects, and I suddenly ran into this project. I cannot even remember how I came to this project. um, it was, they were building identity solutions on top of Ethereum, and it was good, it was nice, it was really nice, but it was too early, right? it
Yeah,
was it was 5 years ago,
everything
and
was too
everybody
early.
was learning. Exactly,
Yeah,
everything was too early, and everybody was learning, and there were no real, like, if you ask me, there were no experts at that moment.
yeah.
So everything was too experimental, and the experience was nice, but it ended like after a year. The good thing is that I met really nice people during that project, and then one of those people that I worked with closely together was Harsh, and we worked together like for 4 6 months maybe, but it was an awesome collaboration. And then when EPNS started, now Push,
Yeah.
he called me in to participate, and that was the formal start of my Web3 journey.
So I think we pretty much covered the first failure. I always am very keen of knowing about the first failure because I think the first success have their quite incentive. So if you are successful for about something in the space, you'll be hooked to the space. But even if you fail in a space like Web3, who is like going up and down every day, I think your first failure and still you getting hooked to the subject is really influential when it comes. And I think you have a very strong personality in terms of that. You never, are being like demotivated and stuff like that. You are always very positive about the space. But yeah, if you are positive about the space, I would like to know, how did you like got sure, because you were in a very mature phase of your life, you were, have had experiences in software engineering. And I always ask you this question because I had this question in like an year ago, how to get sure about the space that you're going to work in. Because even any space can shut down. In 2003 we had a bubble collapse. In 1991 we had an Indian bubble collapse. So there are like bubbles popping around. So what makes you sure about the space?
Man, what a question, Muktanshu. So, in my opinion, the very most important thing that makes this different is that right now everybody is on the same level. See, me being from Latin America, historically, Latin America and other countries similar to Latin America and other locations have always been not playing in the same field as countries like the US
Yeah,
and stuff
we
like
have
that.
not been the part of the big game. I would really like to vibe on that. We have not been playing
Exactly.
with the big guns. Yeah,
Yeah, the game was not even. It was
yeah,
not. Never. And I did work on that field
yeah,
for 15, 16 years of my life. And this was the first time that I felt like I was in a fair opportunity, right? I was not trying to get any advantages or anything, but I was trying to play in a fair field, right? To
yeah,
me, that was game changer. And not only that, but the fact that it was the only time or the last time that I was going to have to jump in early into a technology, into a
for
movement.
sure, for sure. Like 5 years
And
is
man,
the
that
epitome of early mover advantage. It's like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And like those two things together, the education part. Well, three things: the education part, the same field for everybody, and the passion that I felt because it was interesting. It was I in 2008 I lost my job because of the crisis, right?
yeah,
And we all know what happened during that time. And
yeah. I was in my
when you
grade
put
one
all
Jav,
those
so
things,
we really don't know about that.
well, when you put all these things together, you realize that you were in front of a great position, that it was fair for everybody to participate, and that's what caught me here, man.
Yeah, I think we also vibe. We vibe on many things. I was a mechanical engineer, and I was looking for out for opportunities, which keeps me at par with any computer or tech filled up engineer in his resume or her resume. So I explored this space through that, and people like you, people who has been hustling from 5 years now, just the sheer belief of you on the like space. I think that's what gives you the motivation to keep working upon it,
Yeah.
because you see the big guns now. You guys are the big guns because you guys are the OGs. I see your conversations from the start. You can't even use the term push for like EPNS because you've been there for some time. Yeah, then you can't even use Polygon because Polygon is something that's very relevant, so we use it now. But at a point of time, I think around a couple of years ago, we all used to say it Matic because of Matic Mumbai, I think. So yeah,
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
we've been now. It's been 2.5 years for me, so it's half of what your time. But I think yeah, I can call you myself a part of this smaller space, which is going to boom sometime soon. So now
Yeah.
coming to your role switches. So you've worked in a very interesting industry, Jaf. I'll talk about the next part of your journey, but you worked in the pest control industry and worked as a software manager there. So guys, there are jobs out there in the pest control industry which needs coding. So guys, if your resumes are open, you can apply on that part. But
Man,
yeah,
I had the opportunity. I worked in microconductors, in services, in telecom, in pest control.
yeah.
Even in the medical industry, I worked in many industries. Yeah,
So you just kept the software profile up. I think it goes goodwill with football references. The managers are usually not the people who handle the game, though they are previous player, and sometimes they're usually the people manager. And I think Jaf's a very good people manager. I think that's why the spaces were switching, but the roles were very kind of similar. It was managing
yeah,
community and managing the hierarchy. But in this space, there is no hierarchy. There is a community. So Jaf now handles decentralized autonomous organizations, which are also called DAOs. This is something that me and Jaf are really excited to talk about because this is the crude part of the podcast. We are going to discuss about DAOs, our perspective, and what we see them as evolving. So I know there is a common definitions going like definitions going around Jaf, but what's your perspective of DAOs or decentralized autonomous
Okay.
organizations?
Right now with a hot take. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about
Oh, sure, no
that.
worries.
I have to start right now with a hot take.
Yeah.
Um, so when you start talking with other people, you start going into you see people
Jeff's, your
say if
connection is
your
a bit
DAO is
unstable.
not an on-chain organization,
Can you go again? Now
it's
it
not
just got
my.
stable. Just a spoiler
Okay,
alert,
perfect.
guys. Jav's internet is not working fine today, but he's still nice enough to go on a podcast rant with me. So just be around for that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And sorry about that. Okay,
No worries.
we should be fine now. What I
Yeah.
was saying is that I'm going to start with a hot take here because usually when you start going to meetings with different people and different participants in the DAO space, the very first thing you tend to hear is that if your organization is not an on-chain organization, that is not a DAO, right?
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Like if you're a purist, right? You want your organization to be on chain if you really want to be a DAO by definition. The hot take is that I'm coming from let's say 20 years of experience, and from my point of view, this is the first time in history where communities can actually get organized in a whole different level, right? So
Yeah.
for me, if you ask me if a DAO is an on-chain organization, off-chain organization, I don't even get into those topics usually. I get into something more conceptual, which is the fact that now communities can get organized. Now communities can become fully trustless, and they can take care and ownership of everything that they need to do. And it's the first time in history where communities can actually create together in a meaningful fashion that nobody will be in risk of getting into something that they don't know what they are getting into. The transparency that blockchain brings and everything that comes with it puts communities in an amazing position that we have never seen before. And that's why for me, a DAO, I like the new terms out there, like digital native organizations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there is my hot take is that there is no reason to consider a DAO only a DAO if they are on chain. To
Yeah.
me,
Yeah. I
what
vibe with
makes
you on
you a
that
DAO
because
is yeah.
yeah, because being on chain, yeah, I know being on chain gives you the opportunities to, work upon the blockchain network, get more operability. But I think DAO in its core nature is through leanings of how an organization should be run in the space rather than just going out with, just the proposals that you regularly do. I think DAO in its true nature is a way of working things out in the space. So I think this is common with every theory that has been given out. We have to test it in open waters. And I think DAO as a theory has now been tested through many of the examples. And I think we are discovering new things about it. We are discovering self contradictory things that we cannot say it like that. We had a definition of being on chain, but now we can say that community wise or conceptually, if you want to take decisions on a hierarchy less system, you are a DAO. If you don't have a deployed solidly smart contract, it does not mean that you can't function as a DAO. So it's not like a constitution for a court of law. It's just that
and
solidity contracts is a plus.
and you know what to me is interesting is the fact that while DAOs have been maturing a lot over the past 2 maybe 3 years, to be honest, we are still figuring out what they are. Nobody can really say this is how you DAO. Such thing doesn't exist right now,
Yeah,
but people are experimenting with so many different setups and so many different structures that makes the DAO space super interesting because
really.
that's where you go when you want to understand how it's going to be the future of work.
Yeah, I think there is a very like parallel interest between Web3 social media and Web3 DAOs, because in terms of social media, we still are not getting relevancy, we're still not getting the utilities part of it, but we are testing it out. We are
Mhm.
testing the Web3 social media out, and the same is with DAOs, because these are two parts of thing that has been very engraved with us when we have that Web2 leanings. We have our Instagram installed, and we know how to operate in that, and we have our political theories installed that we know how to work in under hierarchy in a corporate. But I think when somebody comes and just smashes that theory around, you're a bit unhinged to accept that. And I think people would take like a lot experimentation and also a lot amount of time, just to get accustomed with the idea of decentralized organizations. Just letting go of your authority is something that has been a problem for mankind for quite some time.
Forever,
Yeah.
and yeah, this comes to change everything as we know it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the beautiful part of it. It's not changing it for worst. It's going to be tough to change things. It's tough to change people mindsets,
Yeah.
but once people start at least getting the concept installed in their mindset, in their minds, man, people start seeing things in a different way, and
Yeah.
they see, rather than seeing it as challenges, they start seeing it as opportunities, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the opportunities part, I would like to, ponder upon the proposal, the grants, and the operative decision making that happens over DAOs, because I think that's the most sweet part when it comes to the organizations, and also like the last part, which was the operative decision making, is something that I want to talk more about, because that's not been happening much, but it's been happening with some DAOs, and that's has been really revolutionizing.
Yeah, true. And they're all DAO topics, and they are all governance related topics, and yet they are so different. Like if
Yeah.
you start thinking, at least I can tell you what we have been doing a little bit with Push.
Yeah.
Um, we started our grants program, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes what I feel is that sometimes people don't really understand the purpose of of grants programs, because they serve a bigger purpose for projects. Right now, with our grants program, we are in our second iteration. We are soon to go to our third iteration. Um, but we were learning. On our first iteration, we created a process that was taking everything to governance, and it was good. It was very public, but it was not fast, right? Because moving governance is not fast. It's not
For sure.
easy. They call it herding cats for a
Yeah.
reason, right? It's difficult and it's tough. So we revamped our program, and we created a second iteration aiming to provide speed, more companionship, and make it stronger for everybody, right? We did that, but we lost a little transparency. And you see, that's when you start seeing that there is no perfect recipe out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying their best, and everybody's getting somewhere, right? But when you talk about grants program, you're talking about a program that will help expand your ecosystem and create more awareness of what you're building with other communities and whatnot. And I think, you know, one of the things that we did plan carefully is that we didn't want this to be a program where you apply to get funds, you get the funds, and then it end there. No, we didn't want that. We really wanted to provide companionship and help projects grow, because if they grow, we grow, right?
Yeah.
That's a win-win relationship right there.
Yeah, so coming to the favorite topic of the discussion, which is the push DAO. So I've seen push DAO evolving from when I was a part of the team, and I still love the idea. I still am in love with how the DAO has evolved, because I've seen the version one for the DAO. We just had a proposal drop. People would write all their proposal in the governance forum, but now we have like 3 or 4 steps for every kind of tranche that we have, every kind of threshold of grant that you can get. And guys, it's a very strong advice for if you are an emerging project to apply on PushDAO and PushDAO programs, because PGP, push grants proposals, is something that's gonna boom in future, because they are very sorted out in terms of their operations. Jaf has been in operations background for around 12-15 years, so he knows his shit. So just trust this one, and I think you should really apply for push grants, because it's easier to get them, it's easier to commit, and I think when it comes to harder commitments, Jap will be there to help you out. If you let him believe on your idea, and if you are able to convince that your idea will be beneficial for the ecosystem, I think push it, falls head over heels for everyone who is an idea like that.
Yeah, no, and we really take seriously our commitment to educate with our programs.
Yeah.
So every single one that we launch a program and we spin a program coming from the DAO, we usually
Yeah.
try to make sure that it comes with an education factor that will help people. So if you're a grantee, it's not that you're getting funds and it ends there, but you're getting funds, you're getting companionship to grow your project, which is something that we already did for Push. So we share our lessons with all the different projects. But if you start talking about other programs like our ambassadors program that we decided to focus on the Latam region to start, man, that's a program that also started with a heavy, heavy, heavy educational concept
Yeah.
included, right? So it's training Web3 people to become training regular people or people that is starting their journey in Web3 to become Web3 citizens, right?
Yeah.
That's what we are doing, because if we want good ambassadors, we gotta ensure that they know what they have to do to be better ambassadors for the project. So we have been spending a lot of good time educating them into becoming better ambassadors
Yeah, I
for the
think
program.
it's a very good accelerator program. It is the Web2 term for it. I think very good accelerator, incubator, or like platform for
Mhm.
getting hold of the field as a community manager, and also getting hold of a project. So you'll be able to get funded. You'll be able to get a good guidance from the OGs who have been in the space, who have gotten the Series A fundings, who's handling the VCs. They know how to talk. Yeah, and then it comes to the topic of the birth of push DAO, because we always has the push protocol govern in SAM, but now we have a separate push DAO working, and I am really like fortunate to be like the third Twitter follower of push DAO, so I'm really happy talking about that.
Yeah, well, it's oh, the stage we're in right now is so beautiful because, as you said, we started learning from others. We have continued doing that. We are learning from others all the time. If we see a project or a team that did really great on one area, we'll probably go there and see what we can get from there and adapt it to our DAO, right? We are growing like that. But we started a little slow. I gotta say, we started a little slow, and now we're putting pedal to the metal right now, right now. Right now, we are working with our first work stream, or you can call it sub DAO. It's what we call our globalization work stream. And globalization, it's a very interesting work stream because they will be in charge of managing the ambassador initiatives in different
Yeah,
communities. But when it comes to moderation, when it comes to events, when it comes to other things, they will also be participating in that. So you will eventually have a work stream lead that will take care of that in a way that is going to work only against the DAO, not working directly with push, but so if one of the ambassadors, for instance, they will require budget for something, they will make a proposal to the DAO and say, hey, can you approve this to me,
yeah.
right? And when you start working like that, man, it develops all sorts of different relationships, not only among the contributors in the DAO, but then you start experimenting DAO to DAO relationships and
That's
things that
actually
that
the
are so
part that we are interested at, because just for context, work streams are the departments that you have in your Web2 form. So there is like a development department, business
interesting.
development department, marketing.
Well said.
So that's the decentralized work streams that we call it. And I think the push ambassadors will be like one of the most core members of this, because they'll be the ones who are interacting with the proposal. I think the globalization work stream is now currently focusing on Latam, and I think that's a very active community right now, and I think after that you'll be expanding towards Asia and Europe, and then
Yeah.
coming back to America. I think that circle is a very good circle to do, because I think that C of Web3 is a very influential C, because you get your pace through Latam, because they have been really active in accelerating projects. We have known some infamous
Well,
projects being accelerated from Latam. You know what I'm talking about.
but that it's not coincidence that
Yeah,
Latam has been so active in all Web3 in general. It's
yeah,
because we have always been the underdog, right? We have
for
always
sure.
been working for companies in the States, working for companies in Europe, and then getting the Latino treatment, which is not the greatest,
I
right?
think
So we
push.
found this motivating
Yeah.
to do something for us.
I think I don't know if you will get the context, but I think Web3 is very similar to Latam's influence in UFC, like the MMA fighting, because like football and UFC is something where Latam just came up with with the storm, and I think that's happening with Web3 because we've been getting
Yeah,
many contributions. I think there has been spaces hailing over on Spanish, and that's not only Spanish because it's one of the most spoken language. It's also one of the most interactive language in Web3 because there are specific handles for people who are handling Spanish handles. We always have a Spanish channel on a Discord because we know people from that community, people from the TAM community are really active when it comes to Web3. And I think after that, you'll take a very sharp cut towards the Asian and African community because that
yeah,
there is a lot of things happening also there also. But when we talk about these work streams, Jeff, I think we'll like to talk about the push ecosystem because I know many of the grantees right now, and you being a communication layer over Web3, I think the ecosystem opportunities are really vast. What's your opinion about the ecosystem and how you are trying to grow it?
yeah. Grants program is a great initiative to grow as a to expand our reach into more projects and more protocols, right, and more teams. But we are a project that we owe a lot to our community. They have been with us since the very beginning. We have gotten so much support that we really want to do something, and we understand the importance of working with the builders, right? On 2022, yeah, last year, we did participate in more than 10 hackathons, and I'm
Yep.
talking about nine virtual, and it was like four or five virtual. Oh, sorry, nine IRL events
Yeah.
and four or five
4 or 5
virtual
virtual
events.
events, which will be pretty much
Yeah,
each globals. Then some others,
yeah,
I think. Yeah, Hack Money was also virtual. So
correct.
I think yeah,
Yeah,
two
but
globals,
you
one
see,
Hack Money.
when you start participating in these events, then you start realizing how incredible it is, not only because of the experience of working with the builders or the hackers directly, but the reach that they have.
Yeah,
They might go into a hackathon because they want to play around and get excited about building something in 3 days and everything that comes with a hackathon, but they usually have jobs, and they will go back to their job saying, hey, look what I learned to do in no
yeah,
time with push protocol, right?
yeah,
So we have been creating initiatives that are spinning as a part of the DAO. So we're talking about ambassadors, push grants, push missions, bug bounty program, and rockstars, of course. So we have been creating different programs or initiatives that are aiming to interface with different community members that we have. And I think that's that's a great lesson that every project needs to learn. Who's your community? Understand who's your
yeah.
community before you start trying to do something for them.
Yeah, I think it should be important to know the crowd before starting performing. So I think it's a very important thing to have. But from the growing ecosystem that you guys have, the push DAO has been everywhere almost in terms of grants. I think there are quite a few projects that are really getting popular right now, and I think they have been there from the start. They have been getting the grants from the start. But I think, what's your opinion on push? The probability of push becoming a pure decentralized identity, something that we really like venture into and aspire about. Any kind of organization becoming a pure decentralized identity is a very big step, because they have to let go of many things, and they also have to be accepting of many things. So what's your opinion on that?
It's going to be tough. It's going to
For
be
sure.
tough. Very tough, very tough. But it's something that we put it as a part of our ethos and as a part of our plans since the very beginning. Even if you start looking into our token generation event, the fact that we allocated 53% of our tokens to community, that marks a clear
That marks a
intent
clear
that
step.
we
Yeah.
want to be a community-owned project, right? So it's our promise to our supporters. It's our promise to our community. It's our promise to everybody that this will be a community-owned project. Push as an organization will evolve into a DAO. That will happen. There is no doubt about that. and we are already seeing the benefits. We have had internal discussions where we see things like, for instance, usually in the Web2 world, if you need an employee that runs a Twitter campaign or something like that, then you got to hire somebody, right?
Yeah,
You got to do all the paperwork and do all the beautiful things that happen in the Web2, and then you are going to have one employee that came on board for one project, and then you don't know what to do with that employee. Well, DAOs are so much flexible, and they give you that flexibility to say, hey, let's spin a sub DAO because we have this specific purpose for a 3-month program or something like that. And then you can forecast, you can prepare everybody, and they will be on the same page as to what's going to be the relationship about. So yes, becoming a DAO is difficult, but the flexibility and the benefits, man,
yeah.
they are so big.
I
They
think I
really
think the
overcome.
utilities are unbeatable. Just for context, guys, sub DAOs are, if DAOs are like the tree, the main DAO is roots. Then are the work streams, which are the major branches, and then there are some secondary branches, if I'm explaining that right, and that are very eventful branches. So if you have a hackathon coming up, you'll just create a sub DAO, which will be the part of your city. So if there is a metropolitan city, DAO will be a smaller part of people living in, and these people living in will be just interacting with that particular incentive, which is maybe this hackathon. So subDAO operates on a particular operative, which is a particular operation that is specified for them. So that helps you divide the work out, also getting a full liberty on how to do that work. So I think subDAOs are very important in terms of that. But I think what Push has been doing, I saw like a bounty on Immunify, then I saw a bounty on, I think, a Supreme. So I think there has been a lot of bounties coming up. We are also like seeing many of the work being out for the community to contribute up to. And then we see a community work stream. I think that's the globalization work stream. So I think you've taken the big step. And I think these big steps are what, gives you that courage to maybe, commit fully into the goal. And I
But
think you are a very kind of vision in that kind of perspective. And I want to know about
but
that.
Muktanshu,
Yeah.
let me interrupt you. Well, or actually, not interrupting, because I'm going to answer something that you asked. Um, but basically, yes, we're making a lot of progress, but the cool things, yeah, you get to see the cool things. You get to see them,
Yeah.
but even more cool things are happening under the hood, right? Because in order to support the operation of the ambassadors program or any other program that we're launching, we have had to install DAO infrastructure that will allow us to run in a decentralized manner. And we have run so many experiments. There are so many areas that you actually have to do something if you want to make sure that you are creating a structure that will live by itself, and it can be self-contained, and it can live for as long as it needs to live. But if you don't create DAO infrastructure that is decentralized and that goes hand by hand with the Web3 ethos, then you are in risk of just
Yeah.
making the same mistakes
just
that
just
you
going down the rabbit hole again. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But I think I would advise everyone who is a bit fluent in Spanish to attend the community calls that the PushDAO guys are having on their Discord and Twitter space, because I just miss out on that. I just have that figuring out Spanish somehow, so that I can get some alphas on the community calls. But coming on the topic of the DAOs and how the communities are participating, what are the top five DAOs? You can include Push in this. What are the top five DAOs in your perspective? And I'm talking about DAOs. People, just for context, DAOs are not just the organization which gave out grants. There are proper functioning DAOs out there that don't know about or have less information about. So I think Jeff would be able to expand on that.
Yeah, this will not catch you by surprise. My list will not catch you by surprise, you know that. But
I know what
I'm
we
not.
are going to discuss in this one. I will tag the persons on Twitter when I go out with this podcast, because I know the same thing that will happen after this.
All right, so no, let me start off by saying DAOs that really have been influential for us for developing Push. One of them is Gitcoin, right? We have learned so much from Gitcoin.
The OG,
Not
the
only
OG.
concepts, yeah, not only concepts of things that we want to develop, but how they run their governance and how they communicate. At the end, you keep hearing, when it comes to DAOs, you keep hearing it's all about coordination. But more recently, people started changing to it's all about communication, and we are the communication
Yeah,
layer, so we gotta do things right. The second DAO, the second DAO, probably this one is closer to my heart. That's Shapeshift, right? Um,
just for
I
context,
really
guys,
love Shapeshift.
I just want to tell you why we guys are laughing this hard. Me and Jaf are total Shapeshift fanboys. Uh, just because I would like to abuse here, they have the balls to decentralize in this beer market. I think I think Shapeshift, Willy Wonka, sir. I'm a big fan. And yeah, I'll just expand on Shapeshift, how they work, how we constantly telegram each other about the tweets that they go out with.
Man, yeah, you know what's cool about them? Yeah, they took the bull by the horns, right? They did take a strong decision. They commit to making it happen, and they moved from a regular old-fashioned company as we know it into a Web3 organization. They
And they would
suffered a
have been
lot on
making
the
a
way.
lot of money. They were a DeFi protocol. They were a very relevant DeFi protocol on top of that. And they would like, I'm not sure about the accounts, but they still would have been making a lot more money if they would have just like stuck to the old ways. But I think they had the courage to take the step, and I think that is profitable for them now, because I see the interaction that they have in their community. I see the active Discord VCs that they have, and I think that's really appeasing.
Yeah, and but I think that's the consequence of what they did, because
Yeah,
what they did was to put up the right teams to work, right? And when I talk about teams, is because I don't want to like work streams or sub DAOs or teams or however you
yeah,
want to call it. But they put the right people in the right places, and even if you join their Discord, you can go and you can join freely the tokenomics, Foxonomics
yeah,
calls, and they all talk about how do they create runway to be okay for quite a long amount of time or whatever. But I think what they created that is super super important for everybody looking for a reference on how to DAO. What they created is good DAO infrastructure that is flexible, that is mature, that puts people in a vulnerable position, so that you have to be mature if you want to work on that DAO.
yeah.
So that's why Shapeshift to me is just
Number
incredible,
two for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, man, five is a tough number, but here's one that maybe you haven't heard of this DAO. I've been part of Eli Five DAO. Eli Five DAO. What we do is that we take tools, DAO tooling, DAO infrastructure, and during a duration of 2 months, we go all over it. Our entire community will go and they will play with the different tools. They will experiment. They will try to break it. They will try to let the project people know when there are improvements or areas of improvement. And I love what we do. It's just that it's a very intense learning experience that lasts for two
Yeah, I think
months.
I think DAO infrastructure and tooling is something that's really complexer when you get to understand it. But yeah, when you get the
Yeah,
hang of it, it's one of the most juicy topics when it comes to learning, because it's
yeah,
really interesting.
yeah, yeah. And the last one that I want to mention today is Bankless. I think at some point all of us have been in the Bankless Discord for one reason or another, or have heard about Bankless, of course, because they produce so much content. But what they do is super interesting because
They
they have
started it.
been,
They started it, I think.
they, yeah, and what they
MediaDAOs,
have been
you
doing
just think
is,
about Bankless.
yeah,
Uh,
and Bankless have been giving opportunities to people that they feel that they are mature enough to run their own sub DAOs, to separate
yeah,
from Bankless DAO, like the big DAO, and start uh, spinning their own sub
yeah.
DAOs,
I
and
think
it's
Bankless
turning
is
to
the
be so
first.
well.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think Bankless is the first godlike decentralized identity, and I think they are branching out right now. And I think the content wise also, I think every beginner is informed about Bankless DAO. They don't know what DAO means, but they know there is something called Bankless DAO because of the URIT content that goes out. We fanboy over the podcast. The weekly roll up is something that I follow religiously, because I just love how they vibe. Ryan is an excellent host, and I think they are one of the best when it comes to Web3 podcasts. So yeah, fingers crossed for becoming the second one. But I think yeah, Bankless is something that has inspired us a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And of course, I really love, I learned a lot from Colony. Colony
yeah,
is a DAO framework. I learned so much from them, and I love how they work. I love what they are doing. They are taking a different approach compared to any other DAO framework,
yeah,
and they are being so brave, so brave at what they are doing and pushing because they actually believe in this whole concept of evolutionary organizations and how they work, and they are making it a reality. So yeah,
yeah.
that's my fifth one.
I think bravado is a really appreciated thing when it comes to the space. Somebody ordered a pizza and used Bitcoin to trade it. So this is how this whole thing started. So I think bravado is something that's expected when it comes to this. But I think there has been a lot of bravado by you choosing this as you feel. And now that we are moving on in the conclusive notes of this podcast, I would like to know more about the Jaf, how he sees himself in as a future in future. How, what is the future vision for yourself? We are becoming more of a therapeutic podcast now, because I think a lot of DAO talks have been done. So yeah, what's the
Ah,
future
man,
for?
what a question. What
Yeah,
a question. So I love push. I live and breathe push every day. Um, but I really want to become more a what's called a diplomat or a Web3 citizen that can jump into different areas. I do want to I do want to work more in helping DAOs develop the infrastructure necessary to operate. I've for different reasons I've always worked in infrastructure projects independently of the industry.
yeah,
It's not an exception here in the Web3. Um, and I really feel well. That's the part where I feel well in infrastructural projects. So I really want to take my experience and my knowledge and stay on the DAO part, which is the one that I enjoy the most, but still trying to stay in the infrastructural side of things.
yeah,
So that's my hope that I can continue on this side of things where I can help scale the DAO infrastructure for DAOs to operate in an easier fashion, depending on
yeah.
whatever are their needs.
Yeah, and more triathlons to come, maybe. Just for your context, guys, Jaf's a puffed up guy. Jaf is the Costa Rican Joe Rogan, in my opinion, because he's very similar to Joe Rogan. He has the muscle mass of Joe Rogan too. He used to run triathlons. He's not like me, just sitting over the desk, going gym once a day and just chilling around. I think there is a lot to come in future, Jaf. I think for you, you have a lot of people who were going around who take you as a mentor, and I think that would happen a lot. I think lucky to be one of the first person to be under your wings, and I think I would find myself lucky if I think I get a great mentor like this again. It's getting emotional, guys. It's
But
just two guys ranting about each other's camaraderie, but yeah, it's really honest.
but you brought an interesting topic when you were talking about the triathlons and stuff. Touch grass is how they call it right now. I don't care how it's called, to be honest. But touching grass, the concept is something that everybody got to learn. And Web3 is it doesn't stop. It
Yeah,
doesn't stop, and it will not stop for anybody. So if you don't make a pause for the cause and you really, really, really don't take care of yourself, then Web3 is going to take care of you, right? And it's not fun. It's not fun. I just passed a difficult period for me where I was feeling burnout, and if you don't rest before you get to that part, it's terrible. It feels really, really bad, and it's difficult. It's very difficult to get out of that place. So take a pause for the cause, do it for yourself before Web3 do it for you.
yeah, yeah. I think remote jobs offer us to take certain steps like this. We can just cut off ourselves for some time, and I think I'm a great believer in that ecosystem. When I was kind of switching my roles, I was introspecting a lot, and I usually go to mountains when I am in that phase, because there are no pretty beaches up in the north of India, like Costa Rica, Jaf. So, and I'm really afraid of water, so I just go towards the hills. And I think we're quite similar that I've been mentioning in the whole podcast in the perspective of being personality-wise very similar. So I think that's also coming up. But I think the beer market had its tonality on all of us, and I think it's been the second beer market for you. I think you were there in the
Yeah,
16
the
crash.
second is the
Yeah,
second.
it was the first
Uh,
one for me, and it started in just like a hinge. I just saw the graphs going down. I just saw some of the public letters going out. The companies are shutting down, and I thought that maybe we're finished, but I think somehow we survived this. Ethereum is 31. Ethereum is 1969.8 right now, and Bitcoin is 31323. So I think we are back. What about you, Jeff? How do you see this?
I have high hopes that things are going to turn better right now. I think it's good. Yesterday, I was talking to a friend that he works in the stock market, the real one in Wall Street
The
type of
real one,
stock
nice.
market, and and in the IRL one,
Yeah,
um, and he was saying that even them are looking like changing conditions that make them think that a positive change is starting to happen, which I believe is super correlated to everything that happens in the Web3. So I really hope we are starting to see a change. Is it the bull market? I don't think so right now.
no, no, I don't.
But
I don't believe in bull
and
runs. Just claiming bull runs like this, just by seeing the graphs. But I think
yeah,
the positive intent is something that's coming back. People are getting back on work. People are
yes,
being motivated, and I think
that's true.
we would like to leave, the whole conversation and end the whole conversation on this note that you guys should be positive. You guys should. We are almost past the rough patch that we have, hopefully. So I think we are good to go now, and I think it was a really an honor to catch up with my dearest friend and mentor again. And I think the head of governance for Push Protocol was also in the conversation, but I also ignored him because I was having conversation with my dearest friend. So I think we had a really great
uh,
conversation, Jeff. What's your feedback for me as a podcast host? What can I improve upon?
No, I mean we all have a lot to improve, of course. I think you're doing things right. You're being starting a podcast. It will never be easy. It will never be
Yeah,
easy. Consistency will beat everything, right? But man, you're quite a host, right? You make this so candid, so easy to follow that. I think that is different, that is fresh, and that is the way to go. We no longer need conversations where you get to
yeah,
ask, okay, what's a DAO? And you keep
yeah.
repeating the same topic over and over again. We want this. We want fresh, cool content that is digestible and that people can have fun while looking at it.
Yeah, that's why I chose the Costa Rican Joe Rogan to start things off with. I want to excel. I want to excel like this. So yeah, guys, this was Jaff and me, and we'll be coming up with new projects. But I think we'll try hosting a DAO masterclass with Jaff really soon because I think we'll need that somehow. People need to be informed about Jaff's expertise on the field, and I think Lakshay missed out a lot today. I think it would have been a crash course for him on the DAO. So yeah, we'll be heading on towards the newer podcast, but I think Jeff would be the constant source of feedback and content for us.
Happy
Sure,
to do that, man. Count me in.
sure. Bye, guys. Have a great day. This was me, Muktanshu, and I was with Jeff, the head of governance for Push Protocol.